Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the Adria Supersonic 780 DC. So once on the driver's side of the vehicle, all your locks open with the habitation key, but in this locker you do have an exterior TV connection, 12 volt and mains 230 volt socket, which will work when hooked up. So if you want power in your awning, you can plug in here, lift this little grommet here, pop your wire through and lock the door, and that'll keep the wire in place. But you do have a little bit of storage as well. To the left hand side of it, you've got your hookup point. So to hook the vehicle up, you get your hookup lead, lift the collar, lift the flap on the van, hook the motorhome up first, and then the sight, and do it in reverse order when unhooking the vehicle. And that's the same when you're charging at home as well as charging it on a site. So on the back of the vehicle you do have a large garage on the Supersonic, and in here you've got an individual switch lamp, you've got some storage. It's heated by the Aldi heating system, so the radiators get really warm here along with the pipes. You've got a 12 volt socket, a mains to 30 volt socket. Again, you need to be hooked up for this to work. Tethering points on the rails front and back so you can tie things down. But you've also got the option of lowering and raising the bed depending on what you've got in the garage. So on the electric motor, the switch here will lower the bed down. So if you want to put your bike in, you'd raise it up so you get a lot more headroom. And then if you don't have anything large in the garage, you can bring it back down so that the bed isn't as high inside the vehicle. And it's all done through this switch. Just like that, and that's in its lowest position. But this garage does get nice and warm via the heating system. On the back panel of the vehicle, you've got your high level reversing camera, which is just up here below the rear brake light. On the passenger side of the garage, just behind this cover, you've got your external shower point. So depending on if you've had the hot water on, you can use hot or cold water. If not, it would just be cold. It's a Reich fitment. You get a shower head with a hose, and it clips on here. And on the other end, you've got a trigger gun. And as long as the pump's on the main control panel, you get a pressurized flow of water to this point. So you can hose the bikes off, the dog off, the boots off before storing them away. And this garage has a 400 maximum payload in the back in the garage area. Just below the garage on the passenger side of the vehicle is your waste water outlet point. This is controlled via a valve on the dashboard of the Supersonic, but you would need to drive over the grid on the way out of your site. This is your disposal point, and get rid of your dirty water before travelling, because you don't want to drive around with the added weight of dirty water. You also want to get rid of this in the winter to avoid it freezing and causing any damage to the vehicle. Make sure it's left open, and when you drive home, tend to leave it open and it'll rock any loose water out, so no water freezes in here and causes any damage to the tanks, especially in the winter when we're experiencing frost. To operate your cassette, first of all, squeeze the lever in, drop the door, hand underneath the orange handle, lift up and slide the cassette free of the vehicle. You can then either carry it or you can wheel it to the disposal point on site. Then once you get to your Elson point, which is your disposal point, you take your cap off, start to pour the contents out and press the orange button here at the back. This allows a bit of air and stops it glugging. Pour the contents of the cassette out. Once you've done that, there is normally a tap. So pop a bit of water in, put the cap back on, give it a rinse, tip back out, and then a cap full of chemical, which can either be green or blue depending on what the site prefers you to use. This is a 120ml cap. Measure the cap, 120ml into here, back into the van, and it's good to go and be used. The cassette will indicate on the toilet when it's full and requires to be emptied. So now in your gas locker, I've got my small test bottle on here at the moment to show the gas appliance is working, but the gas on this vehicle runs off propane, and you can fit 2 6-kilogram bottles in here, or one bigger bottle, a 13 and a 6, depending on what you need, what you're going to run with. But 2 6s you'll fit no problem at all. Once you put the bottle on, you want to connect the pigtail, which is this pipe here, which runs from the regulator down to the bottle. So it's left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with it being gas. Then you need to get a gas spanner or an adjustable wrench and just nip it up before turning the bottle on 1 or 2 turns. That will allow the gas into the vehicle. Just make sure that this nib here on the crash valve on the regulator hasn't popped out, so it's flush, which means it's fine. If that's popped out, 10-second reset and it'll stay flush again, which explains here on the sticker of the Truma mono control regulator. Make sure that it is strapped in so it's safe and secure, and make sure it's isolated from the top of the bottle before you drive off, so it's safe for you and other road users on the road that the gas bottle is isolated. And then if you are running with a second, you've got a reserve bottle. Once one's empty, disconnect the pigtail and pop it onto your reserve. Here you have your vent for your Aldi boiler. So this gives location of where the boiler is situated on the vehicle, underneath the bench seat here on this side. This allows the fumes out when operating on gas, and sometimes on electric, but more so on gas, so just make sure it's always obstruction free. To fill the vehicle with fresh water, this is your fresh water intake. So you'd remove the cap. This is lockable with a habitation key. Remove the cap, get a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap provided by the site. Pop the hose into here, wait until it either overflows or until you look on board the main control panel and see how much water you're carrying. Once you've got enough water on board, pop the cap back on, lock it so nobody can tamper with your water. Should you need to fill up from an aqua roll or a bucket of water and you're unable to get a hose to it, just next to it there's a 12-volt submersible point, and there's a 12-volt submersible pump supplied with the vehicle, wheel sure flow pump. 2 pins in there, one end in here with the cap off, other end in the bucket of water, and it'll suck the water up with the pump, because that's giving it power, into the main freshwater tank on board the vehicle. Behind this locker door, which again is lockable with a hab key, you do have your engine diesel tank for your Mercedes. So this is where you fill with diesel fuel, not water, diesel fuel. And should you spill anything, you are able to wipe this out. It's all plastic lined with a plug hole in, so you can give it a wipe out, which is fine. But make sure that you switch off all your heating system and everything before you fill up with fuel. It's just a little warning there from Mercedes. Located in the corner of the passenger footwell underneath the dash is your bonnet release. So if you give that a pull, you can open the bonnet. The Merc Sprinter battery is situated underneath the floor, so it's here. So this needs to be lifted off, the mat needs to be lifted up, and the battery is underneath the floor on the Sprinter. Underneath the bonnet, you do have your AdBlue, which on a Mercedes Sprinters is 22 litres of AdBlue, so you can fill up from here. And it's best that you fill up from a pump rather than a barrel, because the barrels, believe it or not, they'll charge you £30 a drum, whereas if you fill off from a pump, so your bigger service station that accommodates trucks and wagons and buses, you can fill up for about £1.20 a litre, sometimes less, whereas on this it'll take £60 in drums for 22 litres, if not a little bit more. You've got your coolant further back. This side, you've got the main fluid you're going to need, and there's an extension being put in, so screen wash here, but you can fill from here as well, and that fills up with your screen wash. If you ever need to jump start it, this is your positive jump pole, so you just twist, push in, expose the contact on the side, and then your earth and point, you would just earth off anything you can. So just up there, chrome little brass little end, that is your earth for giving or receiving a jump start. To operate your main control panels, which is the 12 volt control panel first, this one here. Your on off button is here, which is your master switch, which turns the vehicle on and off. Around the outside, it tells you what all the buttons do. So first of all, you've got your exterior temperature 20 degrees, interior temperature 29 degrees. Your on hookup, your on light is off. You're charging your leisure battery. You're 50% full of fresh water, 0 waste, and your pump's on. But you can press and go into the individual buttons. So if you press the battery, it tells you your vehicle and leisure battery readings. At the moment they're false readings because we're on hookup. Take the battery out, take the hookup out off the battery to get a true reflection of the charge in your engine and leisure battery. You've got your water tank readings, 50 fresh, 0 waste. You've got your lights, so you can turn your lights on and off from here. So this is your interior, now scrolling across to your on, and you can turn them on. Outside light is dimmable on this model, so you can choose the dimmer setting. So if you're sitting under there in 100% is too bright, you can turn it down and press enter once you're finished. And you can always go back to that to brighten it up. You've got your temperatures, 20 degrees outside, 29 degrees inside. You've got your settings. So you look at your batteries and things, date and time, screen timeout, and you've got your water pump, which you can turn on and off. But you do need this to be on to use the taps, toilet, shower, exterior shower. Now coming on to your Aldi panel, which is this one here. So this operates your heating and hot water. So first of all, it's on, we'll turn it off and we'll start again. So to turn it on, you press here. It's the compact 3030 model. You've got your indoor and your outdoor temperature. So it's saying that in the thermostat inside the vehicle is reading 26 degrees, but outside's reading 18. So if we press on the inside, you can adjust the temperature. So the big bold letters of 28 is what I've got it set to, whereas the outside temperature above it is 26. So you need to always have it above the outside air temperature, and you can bring this up from 0 to 30 degrees. Once happy, you would return to the menu, either by pressing menu or pressing the back button there. You've got your energy source in the middle. So this is what source you want to heat the vehicle off, or the water. So you've got electric, which you'd use if you're on a site, and gas, which you'd use if you're wild camping. However, you can use both together, which will reduce the time it takes to heat the vehicle or the water, or both, depending on what you have got switched on. So you've got 1 kilowatt of electric, which is 750 watts of mains electric. You've got 2 kilowatts, which is 1850 watts of mains 230 volt electric. And you've got 3000 watts, which is 3 kilowatts of mains power. However, you can always put the electric and the gas on together, and the gas switch is just at the bottom, so just turn that on, make sure that you've got your bottle on, and make sure you've primed the systems first, so you've lit the hob to make sure that you've got gas through with the lines, and then it'll be able to pull the gas through to the heating system. If you're wild camping, you wouldn't have the electric on and you would just have the gas on. However, if you're on a site, you would just have the electric on and you wouldn't have the gas on, unless you were in the winter and you wanted to warm the van up quicker, you can. Pressing menu, you can go to hot water and you can turn the hot water on. So you've got off, on or boost. Off if you don't have any water in the boiler. On will run the hot water and the heating system together. And boost is a 30-minute cycle which takes the heating off and puts all the heat to the water. So if you're in desperate need of a shower, put on boost. However, it turns your heating off and it warms your water up a lot quicker. But we like to have it on so they run together. You can turn your lights on the AC. You've got the aircon, so you can turn the brightness on of the aircon surround there. You've got day and night mode in the settings. Day and night mode is what you can set. So it's like a thermostat at home. So day mode, you might want the vehicle to be a nice 20 degrees from say 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. And then night mode, you might want to drop to 14 degrees from 8 o'clock at night to 6:30 in the morning. But you might want to program it so the night mode, your hot water is warm for the first person getting up and having a shower. You can do that. You've got your screen calibration setting here, your display, your sound. But if you ever need to reset the system, if you scroll down to page 3, you can press reset and it will turn the panel off like a restart on a computer, and you'd have to go in and reset the heating, temperature, the hot water, the energy source, all in here. This has a built-in heat exchanger as well. So when you are away in the winter and it is cold, what you can do is, before you set off from home, if you just go to the temperature, select the temperature that you want it to be, then put the energy on electric. So 1, 2, 3 kilowatts is good enough, because what that does is it starts the 12-volt fan that assists the coolant coming off the engine. The valve opens and allows it to pre-warm the boiler, warming the coolant on the boiler system, which is 2 separate systems. You need to at least drive the vehicle for over 1 hour so that the engine gets warm. It's no good doing half an hour, 20 minutes down the road. It isn't going to work, because the engine needs to get up to temperature first before it kicks the wasted temperature coolant to the Aldi system to pre-warm the heat exchange. Throughout the van you have this type of switch. What these are light switches. And because this is a Supersonic and it's a flagship model for Adria, they have a lot of lighting in them. So you can adjust which lights you want on and which ones you don't. Obviously if you're wild camping, you would use them more moderately. But you can choose which ones you want on just by clicking the switches. Some do the front, some do the back, but they are throughout the van. To operate the Dometic fridge freezer, which is where you have a separate freezer, and again, quite handy, you can open it both ways. Press and hold the silver button in the middle. Brings on the little screen beside it. And if you use the scroller, you can scroll between the two. So first of all, you've got your temperature. So when pre-chilling, have it on 5. Once you put your shopping in, turn it down, because 5 can sometimes cause ice within the fridge. Next, you've got your energy source. Which at the moment it's on automatic. In automatic, what that does is it automatically changes between the sources, but it always prioritizes mains 230 volt. So it'll act as a household fridge. Then if it can't find mains 230 volt, it looks for gas.
Ring you back.
And then if you start the vehicle's engine, it looks for 12 volt off the engine. However, it will never go from the engine battery, which is when you use it to travel, just to keep it at the same temperature, as it just circulates a fan, but it has to be pre-chilled before you leave, otherwise there's no use to the 12 volt setting off the engine. It'll never go off the engine to then gas straight away, because if you forgot to isolate your gas cylinder and you pull into a petrol forecourt for diesel, you don't want this sparking where there's naked flames. So if you were needing to do this, you would just manually select, take it off auto and manually select gas. But you can manually select anything you want, but automatic does it for you. So it waits 20 minutes. If you wild camp, it either beeps for 20 minutes or you can just manually press gas. But for this, we like to leave it on automatic. You've got your brightness of your lights inside the panel, so you can brighten the panel up. You can stop the beeper. You've got the frame heater here. So what that does, it stops this panel from condensing, and also stops the rubbers from sticking when the fridge and freezer is on optimum temperature. But a little quick reminder, when not using it, turn it off. Underneath the lugs, you've got these little tabs on the doors. So you need to, they're quite fiddly, but you need to bring them out. Got the top one out there. Got the bottom, there's the bottom one. And this is the same on the fridge door. Situate them into the 2 pins. And what that does is, if you look at the door, it's left the door open so that air can circulate in and out of the Dometic fridge freezer, because you don't want to shut it because it's got a rubber seal on or form an airtight seal and it'll start to smell. So leave it open for air to circulate, and there's no harm in just giving it a quick wipe out if you're leaving it for any length of time with a disinfectant Dettol spray. To operate the oven and grill, in the centre here, you can either choose the grill, which is this side, or should I say oven this side. And if you look at the bottom, you can see the blue flame. So that is on. And then if you go the other way, to the right, you do have your grill. So there you can see your grill's lit. And the other way you can see that your oven's lit there. Just down here. You may want to take your grill pan and oven shelves out when travelling or wrap them up, as they may cause a little bit of noise when on the road. So at the back of the vehicle you do have your island bed. So this is in the day position, gives you loads of space. The mattress is folded over, this folds back once it's out its cellophane wrapper. But once you want to put it into the nighttime mode, there's a little switch here. Press and hold. The bed's electronically operated on a 12-volt motor, and it pushes the bed flat. Like so, and then you've still got enough space. Got loads of space for the mattress to fold over at the back. Just means if you're reading or anything, you can have the bed up, and then once you want to go to sleep, you can put the bed down. Bedroom doors are tied back here, and then they just slide into position to block the back of the van off from the front. But make sure they are tied back before you drive off, because you wouldn't want these clattering about when you drive. You've got your switches for the bedroom, so you can put the lights on here, the surround lights to the skylight, nighttime lights on the bottom of the bed for your feet, and you can turn it all off from here as well. On either side of the bed you've got both types of USB, so you've got the old type and you've got the new type USB-C, and a standard 230-volt socket. Catch in here, got your hanging space for your wardrobe. Catch in the centre, you've got some overhead storage. And then on the other side, you have your wardrobe, but in the back you've got your header tank. This is your glycol tank for your Aldi heating system, which is G13 glycol liquid. So every 5 years this liquid needs changed, just because of within use it loses its antifreeze properties. It's the same as a coolant change on your car, they recommend it. Aldi recommend theirs and some other brands to be used, so if you ever need to top it up, you've just got to take this panel off. So the screws in down the side lift off. It's always best that you run it up first, because with it being an expanding liquid, it expands. So you might think when it's cold, it's close to minimum. Put some in, it might be way above maximum. Don't do that, run it up first. You can see that you've got a minute of max on, and at the minute it's at max, so that's it with it on. That will drop down once it's cool. If you need to top it up, screws off, lift the panel off. At the top you've got a header tank cap, you can take that off and fill it up, but you do need to use G13 coolant, and that is for your Aldi heating and hot water system. In the kitchen you do have three gas burners. Allowing them to cool before putting the glass lid down if you've had them on for any length of time, because you don't want to smash this glass. And then this side, removing the sink cover, which gives you extra preparation space. You do have your pressurized water system, so as you can see there, the water is working, and that is very hot. So your hot water is working as it should. Within the floor, in the bedroom, if you lift this panel off, you've got this little valve here. And what that does is, it's a return feed. So it's pushing the glycol this way and then returning it this way to the boiler system. This is your waste tank. So what that does is, it goes around the tank, so it stops the tank from freezing in colder countries or colder temperatures. So that's on there at the moment. I would just leave it as it is. There's no benefit to turning it off. It just means that in the winter when you're away, your water won't freeze within your waste tank. And it's exactly the same for the front, but you can find the front one underneath the lift up seat beside the boiler. This side you've got your shower, which has a opening skylight for ventilation. Make sure that is closed before you travel, and always the bars pushed up with a button below it, with the fly screen and a blackout blind on. Remember, when to winterize, remove the shower head from the hose. This is just a silicone rubber hose. Unscrew it, lie the hose down in the shower tray with the mixer tap open, and it'll stop any water from freezing this pipe and potentially causing any damage. Your shower screens are just magnetic, so make sure they are stuck back before you drive. And make sure you don't clean any of the shower or toilet out with any thick bleach or harsh chemicals. Just a microfiber cloth and soapy water is good enough to clean this area. So the one side you've got the shower, which we've already explained, and then the other side you've got the toilet, but you can use the toilet door as the washroom door or the bedroom door depending on how many is in the van. To operate the toilet, make sure the pump's on, press the blue button. It gives you a fresh water flush from the main freshwater tank. Once you've put some flush in, you'll want to open the blade, which is this grey lever here, so slide that to the right. Use the toilet, flush it after use. If you're using any pink liquid in a spray bottle diluted with water, spray the bowl, flush, and then close this blade. You want to ensure that the blade's closed after use. It means that you'll stop the smells, and if the cassette indicates it's full, which it will with a red light here, you can pull the cassette straight out the side of the vehicle. Got a toilet roll holder here, which slots through the front of the toilet door. You've got radiators in there as well, so this gets nice and warm in the back of here. That is your hot water coming through. And this is a push plug in the sink. Soap dispenser, toothbrush holder, shower light, top mirror lights, backlit underneath the counter and behind the mirror. Clip at the bottom here to open the toiletry cabinet, and then you do have a skylight which is the same as the shower with a blackout blind and a fly screen on. In your kitchen, just above your cutlery tray, in the same drawer, you've got 3 gas isolation taps. So you've got the hob, the fridge and the oven, the boiler and the hot water system. So any problems with gas, always turn the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. However, if you think one gas appliance is causing an issue, say it was a hob, turn it like this and this is isolated, these 2 are on. But make sure that you haven't knocked any of these when loading the van if you have any trouble with getting gas to a certain appliance. All these storage drawers here lock as soon as the engine is started. So there's a little light here, this comes on red and it won't allow you to open any of these storage drawers as it locks when the engine started for travel to stop them from opening. The lounge creates 2 extra travelling seats. So to do this, and they work exactly the same either side, you need to remove the cushion, remove the base cushion. In the garage area you'll find a seat backrest, but keep the base because you'll need the base, but you'll need the backrest from the garage. So this lifts up like so. This goes back down the board and the front folds over to give you the footwell. That base cushion goes on here. There's Isofix on the seats, and then in the back you do have a cushion. So the cushion goes on here and forms the seat back, which is padded. So you'll need to lift up the headrest. The seat belt can be found, the buckle under this side, so you'll just need to fish that out before you assemble the seat. And the back, just like here, goes on like there. And there you have one full-sized adult travelling seat in the back, and you've got 2 of these either side of the lounge. In the floor behind the passenger seat, if you lift the cover up, you've got your anti-frost valve. So 3 degrees, this will automatically drop the water in the boiler, which is 10 litres, to avoid it from freezing. And what it does is, there's a blue button here at the bottom where my finger is, that pops out and allows the water to drain off. However, don't ever become fully reliant on the valve in case it faults or causes any issues over usage. So what I like to do is, when I know I'm going to drain the van down, I open the valve up, button pops out and the water starts coming out underneath. To close it, you turn the top, push the button in and it shuts the valve back off. However, sometimes when it's too cold the button doesn't stay in. So a little top tip here is, put the heating on without the hot water for 10-15 minutes first. It warms the area up underneath the floor and then you'll be able to push the button in. But make sure you open the valve, open all your taps to eliminate any water staying in any pipelines or the tap itself or the cartridges in the tap and causing any damage. Once you've opened it, put the pump on for 10 seconds to blast any last bits of water out of any pipes before leaving it for the winter. To operate the Truma aircon, press the button, blue button, flashes, give it a moment there to come on. To turn the lights on, press the button here on the remote. And then you do have modes. So at the minute it's on cooling mode and it's at its lowest temperature of 16 degrees. You can set the temperature here, set the fan speed here, 1, 2 or 3. You've got the modes, you've got a heating mode, goes up to 31 degrees, but it does turn itself off first and then turn itself back on, because at the minute it's on cooling, so the compressor's involved. What it needs to do is slowly start to warm itself up before it starts to give you heat, because it can't go from being cold to hot, because it'll just crack the tank within the aircon system. You've also got a auto mode and a recirculation mode. You can set your timers here, and if you ever need to recalibrate the remote with a spanner that comes up at the top line, you just press and hold to reset the remote control. But you do need to be on mains 230 volt for the air conditioning system to work. This does not work off 12 volt. So to drop the carb seats, which are the IRIS carb seats, luxury seats, tilt this back here, fold the seat down. Just be careful with the driver's one that you don't get too close and set the horn off, because you'll not be very popular on site. And then to bring the bed down, going just under here, and you've got a resettable fuse. Pressed and holding the button, you can bring the overcarb bed down. And it's a maximum of 200 kilograms. And if you're putting children up there, this little safety rail just zips up on each corner. You've got individual reading lights, a large opening skylight with blackout blind and fly screen on there. And then when you store it away, you might just, once you've been on it, sometimes it senses weight, you might need to reset the fuse first, which is this one here, and then go back up with the bed. And you do have a curtain as well there, so once the bed's down, you can put the curtain across to give yourself a bit of privacy in the overcarb drop-down bed. Located to the right of the driver, you do have your mirror adjustment, and then underneath here, you've got your main consumer unit, which is your trips. So if you trip the van, try here before you try the main site. If you think you're not receiving power, press the test button on the trips, and if the vehicle trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, unfortunately, you're not receiving power. And you've also got your battery isolation key at the top. So at the moment that's on. If you're storing the van for any length of time, you might want to turn that off so that you don't get a power drain from your leisure batteries, which are located in the floor on this van. Down beside your light controls, so you've got your lights, your fog lights, your handbrake. You've got tank 1, which is closed, which is fresh water, so you can put to this setting or this setting. So that's closed, that's draining, no strain, that's open, and the motor's involved. And then you see you've got tank 2, waste, closed at the top, drain, no strain, which you would put in to this position for the winter when you've got it open or storing and it's empty. And then you've got the motor, and you hear it, and it'll start to pump the water out. So fresh, waste. 1's fresh, 2's waste. On the other side of the steering wheel, you do have your switch for the window on the cab door, so the A-class cab door, which is on the passenger side. So there's a switch on the actual door for the passenger, but if you're wanting to put it down or you're solo in the van, you can here. You've got a demist on the lower fan speed or the higher fan speed, which does the windscreen area for demisting when the engine is switched off. You've got the blind, so you can bring the blind down on an evening to black the windscreen out. By just pressing and holding the middle one. And then your other blinds slide down like so. And that's the same this side, which black the carb out. So you just grab a hold, pull it down, slide it along, the rail until it clicks in at the back, so it's magnetic. Like so. You can also bring this down from the top if you wanted it, so the next switch you can bring it so that it sits at the bottom, so if you don't want it sitting at the top you can have it sat at the bottom of the dashboard. So it's up to you where you have the position of the blind. It's probably a little bit better at the top of the windscreen rather than the bottom, but it's up to you. And then this one is your lock. So should you have all the doors shut, you can lock the doors by pressing this button here. But at the moment we've got the back habitation door open, so it won't lock. So in the centre you've got the M-Box Mercedes entertainment system. So you can connect your phone. So to do that you press here and you connect a new device. You want to find M-Box 2709 and you can connect two phones at any one time to the Mercedes, so whoever's phone rings it will just divert the call, which is quite good when you're touring. You've got your navigation, so you can put in here where you want to go, or you can say, hey Mercedes, how can I help? Navigate me to the metro centre. And then it gives you the option and off it goes. It'll start it, so you don't even need to pop in where you want to go, you can just see it. It tells you the time, the mileage, or the distance. Click here, you've got all the details. So it's a very good bit of equipment. And then you can cancel the route there. Radios, FM and DAB, scrolling through your favourite stations. Once you're happy you've found it, you can then save it to the presets, which you have 1 to 20 of your favourite radio stations along the bottom. Media is obviously Bluetooth audio, or if you're connecting you can use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it needs to be connected via a USB-C to this point here. So you've got 3, but this is the one that it takes for the CarPlay or Android Auto. Info is just the consumption and the owner's guide, which is all on board. And then you've got your settings, which you can go into and get your assistance, your vehicle, your lights, delay, your system settings, which are all through the screen. You can press this button at any one time and view the back camera. You can press this button and go straight to the telephone. You can press this button and go straight to the navigation. This one for the radio or the media, so it skips between the two. Van settings, back and home, on and off, and then you've got skip a track. Below you do have all your settings for your heat, your climate control on the cabs, your aircon, your auto, your temperature here, where you want the distribution, hazards, max demist, recirculation, and you've also got an auxiliary heater, which is programmed through here. But if you're saying you're setting off at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's a winter morning, you might want the auxiliary heater to turn on at 6 o'clock. What that does is it pre-warms the engine, but also pre-warms the cab, so that your engine isn't running from cold, which in theory should make it better on fuel, because it's not going to use a large amount of fuel first to get the engine warm. It's going to slowly bring it up to temperature, which is this one here, and that's it programmed there. So it will come on orange once it's programmed, once it's on it's red. And you do have your heated windscreen. SOS from Mercedes call centre here. The marked area for the keys is in the cup holders, so if it says where's place key in marked area, it's in the cup holders if it won't start, then to turn your stop start off, it's here, and it comes up on the screen. In the settings, heating, time of departure, so if I set that, you'll see you've got a orange light on there because it's set, but you can change that by putting it on and going into settings and changing A's time to what you want, and it'll preset it for you, ready for the next morning. I'll pop that on so your AdBlue's always at the bottom, so you can always see how much AdBlue's in the vehicle. You've got your rain sensor there for your telephone, your media, your radio, your navigation. You can pop on there when it's set, your trips, go up and down with a cursor. All your cruise control, speed limiter, all your radio settings, and this pad does the screen in the centre. The M-Box, assistance, and service, so you can go AdBlue level, tyre pressures, assistance plus, which is your service, so it's due a service in 463 days, oil level, engine's just been switched on, so I'll tell you that at the moment. Diesel particle filter, so that's your DPF, obviously that's telling you it's 24% full. Once you start to put some mileage on, get it hot, it'll start doing regens and clean itself out. But that's all in the cab screen there, situated in the centre of the dashboard.